Module 3, we start talking about listening skills. What it means to be a good listener, to be an effective listener. So we talk about why people want to talk to us, whether or not we're approachable, relationship barriers, techniques to listen better, encouraging folks to share, reflecting and asking questions. So we'll start with the interactive activity. Was it 17 in your book? 16. 18. I can't see nor count, apparently. There is an activity called fuzzy meetings. What I want you to do is go through this list of words and assign a percentage of time of what you think those words mean. You scared by that?
I do not have a highlight.
No.
100.
Between 0 and 100. So for example, often. I brush my teeth often. When I say that, what does that mean to you? I call my mother quite often on the weekends. It's her birthday tomorrow. I need to remember that.
Aww.
I need to call her. So I quite often call my mother, or I seldom put up with my sister. When I say these words, what percentage of time does that mean? So go through this list, assign a percentage of time. All right, so looking at that activity, what are some thoughts? What are some reflections on that?
Everyone has different perceptions.
Okay.
Different
perceptions. It's just like French kissing, okay.
Wait, we asked him what he thought hooking up meant, and he had a really good idea too. He said, anything that happens behind closed doors.
Sometimes it happens not.
That is true. We're not getting into voyeurism today. We are just talking about listening skills right now.
Sorry.
But everyone has different perceptions. Okay, how does this impact your work as peer educators then?
You have to know, or you have to be able to work with people that are different. Like you have to be able to listen from their perspective and not just all about you. You have to put yourself in their perspective.
Okay, so a little more empathy there.
Open-minded.
Open-minded.
Yeah, I was gonna say understand their perspective on whatever it is.
Yeah, they have different perspectives, so trying to understand their perspective, yeah.
I think it also talks a lot about communication and how you communicate with people. If you're gonna talk to your team members, about who's gonna be responsible for doing something or something like that, just making sure that everyone's on the same page, about what the plan is or about what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that when people use these kind of fuzzy words, you might want to ask questions to get a better understanding of what they're trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if somebody says that they do this often, to me it might be 70% of the time, but for them, it might only be 50. So.
Right. I seldomly binge drink on the weekends. For some, that means 5% of the time. For some, that means 40% of the time. So what does binge drinking mean? So when you say seldom, so how many weekends out of the month is that? Mm-hmm. Asking some of those specific questions when you try to be a peer educator to try to define what they are really saying. Other thoughts, other reactions to the activity? It was interesting. You just like going outside.
Yeah.
I was like, the sun is so shiny. We go out there and see it. All right. So that's fuzzy meetings. And so when we think about being good listeners, I want to think about why people want to talk to us. Why do people want to come talk to us? I wonder, that seems... Okay, tell me more about that.
Not knowing where to begin. Jump
Okay.
and run. What is that?
Right?
Well, that's
You
what
said
I have
it.
to do.
I feel like jump and run.
So, other than the reasons listed in the book, why does someone come to talk to us?
Trust
We seem trustworthy.
They feel comfortable being able to tell us stuff.
Yeah, you have set up some rapport that you feel comfortable with one another. What else?
Because people feel like they need to talk to someone.
Yeah, they just, there is some need inside of them that they need to get out. Yeah, there are a number of reasons why folks decide that they want to come talk to us. For example, maybe they're confused, as you read. They've been thinking about issues so much that they've confused themselves, and so talking through the issue can help them come to a conclusion. I don't think you need to write all of these bullet points. A lot of these seem to be self-explanatory. But talking about it can reveal new options as well as lead to solutions. Sometimes they feel lonely or they're isolated. When you're alone and when you're lonely and you're feeling sad, that makes problems 1,000 times worse, right? Friend Ryan moved to Salt Lake City. My other best friend Katie moved to Flagstaff, left me all alone in Denver. So when one of them doesn't respond to my snap or text me back, or I see that they've opened the snap but hasn't responded, that intensifies the problem. Or Ryan has read receipts on his iPhone, so I can see that he read my message at X o'clock. Yeah.
Brian.
Navel Katie is type A just like me, which is great. We are perfect for one another. But when we are lonely or isolated, it intensifies the problem. And it can lead to depression if we don't start talking about it. So maybe talking can sort of relieve those feelings of isolation that we have. Third one being the only one. We feel like we're the only person to have ever faced the situation in our lives. So we want validated that other people have gone through this. Is again sort of that sharing our stories of struggling and asking for help. If we've been through a similar situation and we can sort of empathize with someone, that can be a powerful tool to help you. Not knowing where to begin. Feeling the issue is too complex for others to understand. When you don't know where to start, it's kind of hard for you to go from there. Started this job over a year ago, first day of work, handed me this facilitator's guide and said, learn the training and do it. I don't really know where to begin. So, talking through it, going through it, breaking it up into pieces, helped me understand what it is I was supposed to do. And it gave me encouragement to actually go forward and be able to facilitate. So not knowing where to begin. When you don't know where to start, talking it out can get you to at least step number one. Here's the favorite one, dump and run. This is known as venting. However, does anyone have a friend, or maybe not even a friend at this point, who all they ever do is complain about what's going on in their life, and they never want any solutions? They just want to complain about it, and it comes to the point where you stop talking to them or wanting to listen? Yeah, I see lots of head nods.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. When you constantly dump and run and you vent and you don't talk about creating change, you will lose people. So it can be unhealthy if it continues over time. Every so often, it's fine. But if it continues and it happens repeatedly, that's when it's unhealthy. And that's when you need to start talking, hey, can we talk about some action steps? What are we going to do about this? How are we going to fix this? Rather than just letting them vent or complain or dump and run. Wanting not to be judged, we're always looking for an unbiased listener. We want to know that it's safe to share. We don't want to be judged. Maybe we have something that's pretty serious, but some people might laugh at that. It's not good to show shock or disapproval, because once your eyes get big when someone's told you something, they're not going to trust you to tell you anything again in the future. So making sure that we can be as unbiased as possible. So are we approachable? We're going to watch a video. We have a, yes, question.
I have a question about
Yeah.
the only one type
Yeah.
scenario. I was a peer mediator in high school, and we always learned that we shouldn't talk about our shared situations because it may make the person feel like their problem's less important than it is.
I think that comes, when it comes to self-disclosure, what is the reason why you're self-disclosing? It's a question to ask yourself. Don't make it about yourself. Make sure you continue to make it about the person, because then you're just showing you're narcissistic if you make it about yourself. So self-disclosure can be a powerful tool, and that's something that we talk about, and sharing our stories of struggling and asking for help. I personally think it's fine to talk about. It's what we talk about and we see in research in terms of peer educators is that sharing those stories can empower others. That's why TED Talks are so empowering, because we hear the stories of someone else, and that inspires us to create some change. But again, it's what is your motivation for sharing, and isn't coming off a little narcissistic or not. I think it's probably some things to start reflecting on yourself if you are going to share. What is your reason for sharing? So we're going to approachability video. We have 3 different video clips. It's a trilogy of sorts with Morgan and Philip, Hey Girl, and Stats Guy from the previous videos. We're going to watch them. I want to show a video. I want you to tell me whether or not Philip was approachable and what he did well, maybe what he could have done differently.
Hey, aren't you that guy that was talking in my class the other day about healthy relationships?
Oh, last Tuesday. Yeah, I'm glad you remember.
Yeah. Actually, I was kind of wondering if you could help me with something.
Well, I don't have a whole lot of time now, but I'd love to talk when I have more time to listen. Are you available in like an hour? We can meet at the peer office where it's quiet, give us some privacy.
All right, out by the health center?
Yeah.
All right, see you then.
All right, bye.
So Philip, was he approachable there?
Yeah.
What made him approachable?
His jawline.
His jawline? That's a little more, normally people just say he's hot, so you went a little more in depth. So I appreciate that. So his
A
jawline,
very
okay.
thorough person.
He was very like, he seemed like he definitely like wanted to. Like he wasn't like, I have something to do right now. Like he was like, I have something to do, but I can help you. Like he was showing that he actually wants to help.
He was valuing the other person's issue as important. Remember back to the first module where we had Hey Girl, who was too busy to help her other friend who has no friends? I'm just tying together all the videos.
She keeps saying hey, so.
She does keep saying hey, that's why her name is Hey Girl. She was just overwhelmed and she made the issue about herself. Versus Philip here valued Morgan's or Hey Girl's issue as important. He couldn't meet right then, but he could meet later. Yeah. His demeanor, he was smiling. What I like to do, which is not a good idea, but whenever I'm commuting to work in the morning, I use public transit, actually more whenever I'm outside in general. I like to put headphones in, but not actually play any music. Anyone else ever do that? You just, yeah, most people. Who just put in headphones and don't actually listen to anything, just to give off the perception that you don't talk to me, sorry, I'm busy. I can't hear you right now. Yep, it happens. Just recognizing that is not necessarily making us approachable. Are we smiling or frowning? Are we engaging or are we avoiding eye contact? If you see me walking down the street, probably have headphones in, most likely not listening to anything. Now I'm giving you my secrets. Now you're going to see me walking down the street and you're actually going to talk to me. But how we present ourselves is important going forward. Will we understand? Do we have anything in common with them? Does Philip have anything in common with Morgan? Yep, they sort of had that experience in class together. Are we knowledgeable about the issues? Hopefully us as peer educators recognize that we are indeed knowledgeable about the issues. And are we able to understand their feelings? Will we have time? Are we always known for being in a hurry? Like always? I know a few folks raised their hand back in the TRAPS video. Are we known as that person on campus? Frequently. Define frequently. Are we accessible in a place where we can listen? Are we in a good place to have a conversation, especially if someone has something important to divulge to us? Are we going to tell anyone? Are we known for gossiping? Do we understand confidentiality? Are we able to explain confidentiality to others? Because if you lose the trust, if you start being known for gossiping, people aren't going to come talk to you. Will they judge me? Are we unbiased and can we listen without showing shock or disapproval? As I said, remember, if you show shock or disapproval, you will lose them. Because they will divulge something and then they will think that you are judging. A few weeks ago, I was on a plane. I made the very bad decision to say hi to the person next to me. Because he was like, oh, I'm sitting next to you, and I was on the aisle. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got up and I was like, oh, you going home? Just started the whole thing. Started talking, I told him what I do for a living, and started talking about the training, and I talked about listening skills. He started talking to me about his life, and he started talking to me about his wife. And he started talking to me about his mistress. And I wanted to leave his wife for his mistress. Right? We're expecting that. It's taken me a while to finally be able to listen to things and not show shock or disapproval. So I'm like, oh, okay. Tell me about the decision-making process that you're going through to decide whether or not you're going to tell your wife about your mistress. It's hard. It takes skills. It takes a lot of practice.
Is he gonna tell his wife?
He is.
He is. And is he gonna leave his wife for his
I don't know.
Oh, he
He's
doesn't know about that yet.
He is now in contemplation. I just got him from contemplation to preparation. I don't know what's going on afterwards.
Wow.
But we talked to, but
I wanna find out. But he's gonna tell his wife.
it was from Denver to Dallas, so it's about 2.5 hours. But we just started talking a lot. I have his business card, but I'm not going to follow up. Because he has my card and he can email me if he has any other questions.
He's probably thinking the same thing.
Why
Yeah.
do you have any more questions?
I feel like he would contact you. I feel like he would contact you.
I am the resource if he wants to talk more about it. I just was a listening ear. He told me a lot about his life, more than I need to know, but will we judge them is the point of the story. Trying not to be judgmental, trying to be as unbiased as possible, and trying to check those facial expressions whenever someone says something to you and you want your eyes to get really big, like I saw like 4 or 5 of you whenever I said that story. Yes?
How do you practice that?
Honestly, it's by experiencing it. Like, and if you show shock or disapproval, what I tend to follow up with is like, I am so sorry how I reacted. Like, you confided in me, and so I apologize if there was any impact by the way that I reacted. It was not my intent, but I recognize that there might be some impact. So sometimes it's by trial and error.
Walk with visualizing a mirror.
Right. No, don't just stand in front of a mirror and just like listen to things that are shocking. Reading the comment section on YouTube and just like look at yourself in the mirror and see what works. Yeah.
I feel like you also have to like focus on your tone of like your voice, because I know like my best friend, she lives in Florida. I've known her since kindergarten, and she told me that she like cheated on her boyfriend, and like I don't agree with that, but at the same time I had to be like, oh well, like yeah, like what you had to do. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's not just like your facial expression, like even if someone did call you.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes. So tone of voice, the way. Yeah. So what will we judge them? I think I opened up a can. Was that a hand or?
No.
No.
Oh, no.
Okay.
We're making fun of Sarah.
Okay.
Whoa.
We thought that you were like, she's been cheating on her boyfriend since kindergarten.
Well, yeah,
And we
she
were like,
dumped it. She dumped
no, I
Nick
said-
yesterday. You dumped Nick yesterday.
Did not.
Oh, no, he got taken away from her.
She gave
Ooh.
him up. But yeah, she still wants to get married.
We had this activity yesterday where we had to like put in like there's like 5 categories, and like one of the categories was like the most 3 important people in your life. So I picked my mom, my sister, and my boyfriend, and we had to eliminate one by ourselves. So I eliminated my boyfriend, and then the instructor came around and took one, and I ended up with like my mom, and then there was goals, and it was like get married. So Allie over here was like, well, you can't do that. You don't have Nick anymore. Blah blah blah. I don't know why.
Plenty of fish. Okay. So goal setting. Great activity. Can't get rid of her. All right. So
I can't get rid of my mom.
listening.
I gave up my brother as well. But it was the easiest decision of my life.
So it sounds like there might be some feelings with this activity. Do we need to process this activity from yesterday, or? No? You're good? Okay. There's lots of feelings, but I want to make sure before we go any further.
Considerate. I liked that.
Thanks. It's just go with the flow, being flexible. So this is just a review of what the 5 roles of peer educators are. What are those 5 roles? Friend, yep. Friends are available,
Educator.
supportive. Educators, you listen to your audience. Okay, we're just gonna, all right, activist.
Team member.
Well, I was gonna say role model first.
Team member.
Team member. This is just a reminder of what the 5 roles were. I want you to think about for this activity, when was the time we weren't a good listener? And why?
This activity?
This activity. Think about time. Oh, you were ready to go. All right, go.
When I was so focused on I was talking to Chloe over here, I was like, I wonder how long he's been with his mistress, and I was really focusing on that. I had much more than the point of that.
So your mind was wandering. You're trying to figure out, all right, what about some other Bad listening
Oh, my
techniques.
goodness.
Ooh, good. Okay.
In philosophy, every single day, I would color.
Okay.
I
That
was
was
really
totally-
bad.
I did so much work done.
They
So-
should really
Right?
just take it out of our
Like I would
curriculum.
just like I'd go through my agendas, I'd make lists, I'd be like I have to do this, this, and this, and then once I was done with that, I'd start coloring.
I did.
So why were you a bad listener there?
Because it like philosophy doesn't interest me.
Mm.
It turns
So you weren't invested in the material or the
Yeah.
content that you were listening to.
I think like whenever me and my sister, we share a room at home, and like she like will make her stories very long and like put in as much detail as she can.
Okay.
And it's kind of hard to like keep listening because like she'll say like something that has nothing to do with the story, and then I'll be like curious about that. So it'll be hard for like me to listen to like what she's actually.
There's so much there that you can't necessarily even process through it. 1 and 2.
Every lecture I've ever had longer than an hour. After that hour, I just go and get the board.
Mm-hmm.
I will be completely honest.
I mean, we know that folks can't necessarily listen to more than 20 minutes of someone talking at them. That's why we've been taking breaks. That's why we've been doing small group activities. That's why we've been doing some of those other things. Because I know after about 20 minutes, you stop listening. It happens. Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm a bad listener when like I have a lot going on in my own life, and then like you come to me and like yeah I want to be there for you, but like sometimes it's like my head's like exploding, and then you unload your problem, and like I want to help you, and it's a lot sometimes.
I wasn't listening to
I was just going to say, I'm going to call you out. No, let me call you out.
I'm sorry! I saw the pizza, I was like, pizza, pizza, pizza.
I heard. So, distractions, hunger, okay.
Say when you're on your phone, like if you're playing on your phone and somebody's at the table talking to you, you're not paying attention.
I video chat with Katie and Ryan every week, and most days whenever we're talking, Ryan is like, we're Skyping, and like I can see him on his phone while we are Skyping one another. Annoying. So,
Every time.
yes.
I feel like also if you're like stressed out about something,
Yeah. So stress out other priorities in your life are taking precedence, okay? Yes, this all comes down to barriers. We're going to do these slides, and none of you are going to hear any of them because there's pizza in the back. But then we will break for lunch. We should be on listening. Is this where it's no longer in the book?
Yeah.
Yes. This is,
Eliminate barriers to good listening.
yes. So all these next slides you have to fit in that like very small thing.
Like where?
This tiny little bullet
It's like
on 19.
under positive ingredients for
Creating a listening environment.
This is a sub-bullet of that.
That's what it is.
Yes, creating a listening environment is a sub-bullet of barriers is a sub-bullet of creating a listening environment. So when you think about barriers, too many distractions, cell phone, music, roommates, computers, busy spaces. But these are the big barriers that happen. Just a reminder of what these barriers are. Letting the mind wander. What's going on in my life? You've told me such a long story that my mind's somewhere else. Prejudging the speaker. They say something like, I'm going to leave my wife for my mistress, and then you judge them, calling you out.
I am not judging that. I just have so many questions.
Yes, rushing to solve the issue. This happens when we start taking on too much. We can't be 100% present for someone. So we're trying to come up with a solution for them before they finish telling us the problem. Showing signs of needing to leave. Checking my phone, checking my watch, looking at the pizza, whatever that is. Dismissing or invalidating feelings. Feelings are facts. Feelings might change, but in that moment, they are the facts and the truth of that person. And it is so easy for us to invalidate them, and again, it comes from a good place. Someone ever say, oh, I'm such a bad girlfriend, or I'm such a bad boyfriend, or I'm such a bad sister. Natural response for us? No, you aren't.
Yep.
So that's invalidating feelings. Again, it comes from a good place. We're trying to reassure them that you aren't bad people. But what would be better to say, like, tell me why you think that. Now, tell me, what's causing those feelings for you? That's a more helpful response than just dismissing or invalidating the fact that they're feeling that way. Tomorrow they might not feel that way, but right now they are. And then last one, not explaining confidentiality.
That's a no-no.
That's a no-no. If you don't explain that, then you will lose them and they will never want to come talk to you again because you're a horrible person.
Yep.
Just kidding. You're not necessarily a horrible person. You learn from your mistakes. You're in action.
Yeah.
All right.
More slides, let's do it.
Putting yourself in a room with a door that can be closed can be a good idea. However, I would throw out a caveat that if you're going to have a conversation with someone, if someone's going to talk to you, always ask them if they're comfortable in the space. For example, I was working with a student whenever I was on call last year. She she was a survivor of a sexual assault. She didn't want to come to my office, sit with me, a stranger behind closed doors. She would rather come talk to me in a more public space. So that was fine. Somewhere where there was a lot of background noise and it was in public. Ask the person who you're working with whether or not they feel comfortable. If a behind closed doors sort of situation isn't what makes them feel comfortable, put the onus on them to come up with an area where they can have a conversation. That's sort of my caveat there. Because it will tell you, like it says here, is there a door that can be closed? But make sure that your environment that you create, your listening environment, is able to provide privacy. Make sure it's comfortable and quiet. Like I said, turn off your distractions, cell phones, music, TV. Take out the headphones if you're not listening to anything. And go for it. Next piece is to talk about this rule is if you're going to be there, be there. What does that mean? We're going to be there, yeah.
Like you're gonna show up there to like talk to them, like actually be present and like don't have your mind somewhere else.
Yeah. Try to, yeah.
Yeah, like kind of what Chloe was saying, like be there physically and mentally. Like, no, like be able to listen and be able to like actually be there.
Be there physically and mentally. Try to avoid some of those barriers. Don't let the mind wander. Don't think about everything else that you have to do that day. Give 100% of yourself if you can. Next piece is roles and nonverbal communication. You see this now back in the book? Awesome. So, when you think of roles, this is an acronym for you to think about to be a good listener. It stands for relaxed, open, lean in, eye contact, and square up. Since you're not getting it out, come back over here. We will practice the roles here. There's nothing more distracting when you're just like this, get ready to have a conversation. You don't look serious. I used to do this with my RAs, and then I learned probably not the best way to be a supervisor. Should have been practicing roles. When you practice roles, you make sure your body is relaxed. Don't tense up. Make sure you have an open position. Don't cross your legs or cross your arms. Open up. Lean in, a slight lean. What you're doing when you're leaning in, not only does it show that you're engaged, but technically, realistically, what you're doing is you're crushing your diaphragm a little bit, and it makes it harder to talk. So when you can't speak, you can only listen. So crush your diaphragm and lean in. That's why no one sings in this position. I was trying to make the diaphragm large. Eye contact, making sure you're looking at the person. Again, this could be a cultural thing as well, so continue to ask them if they feel comfortable with the way that you're having a conversation. And then when you square up, no, not like that. What you essentially doing is you're making a square with your body, making sure that your shoulders align with your legs. See, if I had magical video editing software, there would be a square right around my body right now. That is essentially squaring up. Just a simple way to have a conversation. Just leaning in. Tell me how your semester went.
Well, it was stressful at times.
Okay.
It was good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. So your semester went really well. It was stressful at times, but it went really good.
It all worked out.
It all worked out. Still in school.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the roles. Make sense? How's that sound? Wait. Good night.
Yeah, I just realized.
Okay. Cool. All right. Good night to you as well. What we want you to do now is to practice these roles with the person next to you, or I guess there will be a triple group up here. Practice the roles. Ask about how your semester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit.
As Dr. C said this morning, this isn't necessarily rocket science, but what we're actually trying to do in this module specifically is put some terminology or some names to things that you're probably already doing. Thinking, okay, am I leaning forward? Or am I, like the supervisor, with the feet up on my desk, hands behind my head, tell me how your job as an RA is going. It took me a while to get over that. Or are you sitting behind a desk with a diploma behind you or something behind you, a status symbol behind you that could intimidate someone else? Yes?
I was just going to say, like, something, too, that I feel like I've always been, like, taught when it comes to communication is that you want to put yourself, like, at the same level. So, like, if I'm talking to, like, a resident or someone, like, in my room, like, I don't sit on my bed and have them, like, sit on the chair or, like, sit on my floor, like, while I'm talking to them, because then they're, like, I'm so much taller than them, like, something like that.
Like, this is me practicing roles, essentially, right now. I mean, I'm a little crossed, but, like, still, I'm, like, super high up and I'm looking down. Yes? Great point. Any other thoughts on roles? All right. And then we move into predetermining our feelings and our points of view. We have our own attitudes, prejudices, beliefs, and emotions. We are humans. Which is a good thing, I think. Or we're dancer, if anyone, the Killer song, yeah. No, we are human. So we need to be aware of these things that make us humans. When an issue or a challenge or when someone has something going on in their lives that is challenging our point of view or our feelings, some tips that you can maybe try to use. Focus on listening to the speaker, remembering everyone has their own autonomy. They have the right to their own choices, as long as their choice doesn't take away the choice from someone else. You have the right to make your own choices. You also have the right to accept those consequences if they come with those. Try to suspend your personal judgments while you listen. Not judging you because you want to leave your wife for your mistress. I might think that in the back of my mind, but I'm still going to focus on listening to you as the speaker guy on the plane who's telling me the story. Meet the person where they're at. What does that mean? You got really excited by that.
We say that all the time, like in my occupational therapy classes, and I love it. Like, I think it's like a great kind of concept that, like, a lot of times, like when we talk about it, like we talk about it related to healthcare, which is like when you are explaining something to a person, like you are not like using these like complicated medical terms because that's not where someone's at. Like someone might not get that, so you like talk to them wherever they're at, like wherever their education is or anything like that, or wherever their understanding is, so that to make sure that they get what you're saying and things like that. I just love that phrase.
I love it too. It's the phrase we use in student affairs quite a lot as well, as meeting students where they're at. The way that I like to describe it in terms of this course, when you meet somewhere they're at, think about the stages of change model. If O. Adam comes to you, O. Adam is the one, well, not only is he the one that took John's pills, but he also is having the unprotected sexual activity. He's so clearly in pre-contemplation. I can't start having a conversation with him as if he were in the action stage or in the maintenance stage. He hasn't made that change. I need to literally meet him where he's at and say, like, so what are some consequences that could happen from not wearing a condom? Pre-contemplation. As we said earlier, thank you. You need to meet him where he's at because you can't start talking to him like he's already created change, he knows that it's a bad idea, and he's been doing his work for a year. No, you need to have a conversation with him as he is O. Adam and has never had this conversation before. So yes, I think that's pretty much exactly what you're saying. You need to accept that they have the right to their own choices. Again, remember, folks can make their own decisions. They just have to accept the consequences that come from those choices, and their choice can't take away the choice of someone else. And then if you're unable to be non-judgmental, refer up. There are some times when something is just going to so not sit right with you, or you just can't do steps 1 through 4, that maybe that's when you need to pass the buck to one of our lovely folks in the back. And there are some times when our lovely folks in the back can't do it, and then they pass it up even further. Roommate conflict. As a hall director, I had roommate conflict. Parents were in my office, yelling and screaming. I was like, you know what, this is way beyond my pay grade at this point. Go to my boss. Boss was like, nope, way beyond my pay grade. We got all the way up to the vice president. And then the parents got shut down and people had to stay in the room. Great. If you can't be non-judgmental, if you can't be unbiased, then you might need to refer to someone else. Encouraging people to share. Who am I going to pick on for this one? Let's see. There are 3 different things that we do to encourage people to share. So I'm going to ask you a question. I have chosen to pick on you.
Yeah, Abby.
Let's go.
All right. Tell me about your commute here this morning.
Well, I walked over from Claire Hall, which is right over there.
Yeah, that wasn't really encouraging, or that wasn't really showing that I was invested in the conversation. It was kind of awkward. I can see as you're starting to turn red. Sometimes I ask this person, and then people get super nervous when I don't say anything.
I can tell you about my commute yesterday. It snowed when I left my house.
So there's sometimes I'll ask the question, and then I'll get the person who just starts nervous talking, and then I hear their whole life story. So I'm glad that I picked the one where then they just kind of stop talking. Great, good for me. But there are 3 things that I could have done in that big conversation to encourage her to share. They include still here phrases, bridges or links, and emphasizers. First one are still here phrases. A still here phrase are brief comments that show that you're still listening. Tell me about your commute here this morning.
Okay, so I left my room
Okay.
in Francis Hall,
Mm-hmm.
and then I realized that I forgot what did I forget? Something. Like a hairbrush or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I had to go back later to get my hairbrush.
Got
And
it.
then I left Francis, which is always sad for me. And then I went and my car was like parked outside. Like I had a hell of a commute this morning apparently compared to Abby. And then I saw that my car was like parked outside, but like my faculty and staff were there. So then I went to like go move my car because then I was worried I was gonna get a ticket. So I moved my car a little bit this way. And then I left and then I saw my friend who's at work study here, but then I like, didn't talk to her because I was already late.
All right.
And then I called you out as soon as you walked in.
And then she got caught. So I don't know if anyone noticed, I tried to throw in some of you were just going. I tried to throw in some of these. The head nod. Oh, okay. I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just that reinforcement that I'm actually paying attention. Even though I can't remember what you said. I remember faculty and staff parking lots.
That was good.
Yeah, there we go. All right. You saw your friend who has a work study.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm still here.
Yeah.
A head nod, and okay, Those are just still here phrases. Show that you're still paying attention, rather than when I asked you what you did, I just stared into your eyes with a blank dead stare. Next one are bridges or links. These encourage you to build on a previous point, essentially linking 2 parts of the conversation. This encourages you to continue. So, can you tell me about your commute this morning?
My mom drove me.
Okay.
I actually woke up early this morning and she
Oh, wow.
wanted to go, and so I had to rush to just jump out of bed and get dressed and get here. It was almost up.
And then what happened when you got here?
I sat down and immediately had to go
Oh, go on.
because I have a cold and it's really uncomfortable and I still feel bad.
All right. As you can see, I've linked the conversation, or I've provided a bridge from one part of the conversation to another. Tell me about your commute here this morning. Oh, I was running late. Oh, and then what happened? Then I had to blow my nose. Go on, and then she tells me about her cold. That links the conversation together. Makes it one large conversation. Third one are emphasizers. This encourages the speaker to expand, emphasizing words or feelings of the speaker. Be careful with this, because it can sometimes sound disingenuous. So, for example, tell me about your commute this morning.
Well, I woke up.
So I heard you say you woke up. Go on.
And then I got into my car and went
So I heard you say you got in your car. Go on. So I heard you say you can't go on any further.
Oh, man.
It's easy for you to just repeat the words back at the person to actually know what you're saying. So who said that it was snowing? Abby. So when you said, oh, it was snowing, so I'm like, oh, it snowed. See, like, that's a good use of an emphasizer. Don't sound like Big Hero 6, like a robot, just like repeating back at them.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh,
Well, basically, it's a robot doctor. Kind of.
It's so cute. Oh my god.
But
I
cuter than
cried.
that.
I cried like a
You emphasize those keywords or points. Don't just say the same thing every sentence. Use them sparingly. What I want you to take away from this isn't a checklist. When you have a conversation with someone, I don't want you to think, okay, I've used 4 bridges and links, I've used 2 emphasizers, and I've only used 1 still here phrase, so I think the next sentence I need to use another still here phrase. No, that's not the purpose of this. These are just techniques for when you have someone sitting in front of you and then they're not saying anything. Some things you can go back to in your mind of like, how can I get them to share just a little bit more? How can I encourage them to share? I don't want this to be a checklist of X, Y, and Z, make sure I hit them all so that way, it's rocket science, it's an algorithm. No, that's not the point. All right. Reflection and asking questions. 4 things. Are you okay?
Yeah, and
It
it
was
takes
a joke. It was
No.
I went like this.
No,
and I was like,
it was
oh, sorry.
vicious.
She was like, what? You're so
Vicious.
It was vicious.
See, I said how I feed that back and I emphasize that.
No, it was just
All right. So reflection and asking questions. There are 4 things that you can do. You can reflect, you can paraphrase, you can summarize, and you can ask questions.
Okay, whatever.
No, we're not looking for this.
Aww. All right. When you reflect back, you mirror what you hear, and you use the word of the speaker. Again, this is when you start using that I heard you say, and how that can be very, very awkward. So use it sparingly. But when you reflect back, some of you are like, okay, so, I heard you say that it snowed yesterday. Can you tell me more about that?
What?
No, I guess not. All right. But it's using those words in the speaker. She literally said, it snowed. And I responded back with, it snowed. So you reflect back what you hear. That's different than if you were to paraphrase, where you restate the key points in your own words. So you said that the weather was bad yesterday. So it sounds like the weather was bad yesterday. Not her words, putting them into my own words and asking her that question. Use your own words, and you, bless you, restate the key points. A summary is different than a paraphrase. When we paraphrase, we take one part of the conversation. When we summarize, we take the whole conversation and we put it into our own words. So paraphrase is part of the conversation, a summary is the full conversation. So basically, you had a really rough commute this morning. You were parked in a space with lots of faculty and staff. You also saw a friend, which you wanted to talk to, but you couldn't because you were already late for this, and then you walked in, and then you got called out. Summed up the entire conversation.
Except you forgot the part where I forgot my hairbrush.
Forgot the hairbrush. Okay. See, there's a good point in the asking questions slide where it says that it's also helpful to ask, is there anything that I've left out that you feel is important? So if I would have asked that right now, you would have told me that forgetting the part about your hairbrush was the important part that I left out. Because I'm that type of person where I'll list a whole bunch of my issues, and what is it called? I'll sandwich the real issue in there, hoping that they don't actually catch what the problem is, and really are focused on the other 8 things that I've listed, just to get it off my chest but not have to deal with consequences. Anyone else do that? Keep hands? Yeah. I feel like I should see more hands than that, but remember, vulnerable, safe space, be willing to divulge. All right, so that's a summary, asking questions. It's helpful to always ask permission to discuss solutions. Helps you realize whether or not they just want to dump and run, or if they actually want to fix what's going on. So say, is it okay if we talk about some solutions with this? You open to discussing some things that we can do to create this change? But remember, the speaker is always the first to know. And what I want you to write down, because this will show up on the test, and it might seem as a trick question, when you see that the speaker is always the first to know, I want you to remember that you need to meet the person where they're at. If you want to write that down. Because if it doesn't come intrinsically to them that they need to create some change, they're not going to be willing to. We need... No, go ahead.
Oh, what did you say about meet them where they're at?
Yeah. When the speaker, does it say in there the speaker is the first to know? Yep, I would maybe just put an equal sign and say, equals meet the person where they're at. meet the speaker where they're at equals the speaker is the first to know. And vice versa, because that's how equal signs work. Math. Speaker is always the first to know. So, this interactive activity wants you to pair back up into your groups using the roles that we talked about, using the encouraging people to share techniques. Yeah, no, I totally get that. That leads us to sort of the last part of this. Ooh. Yeah? Sorry, I got very confused there. The last part of this trilogy video where we are going to talk or witness Philip and Morgan.
Oh, Phil.
They're finally coming. Jawline Philip is finally here to help a girl with whatever issue she's got. I want you to watch to see how Philip implements some of these techniques that we've talked about throughout this module.
Here it goes. Season finale.
Oh, come on in.
Who's that?
Hey, thank you for meeting me. Will you have a seat? All right, well, thanks for meeting me. I appreciate it. So earlier when I saw you, you said you had a question for me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about my relationship with my boyfriend. You see, we love each other, and I've been together with him for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, I mean, not always, but he gets mad at little things.
What happens when he gets mad?
He just yells and calls me names. I mean, this doesn't happen all the time, but I mean, it upsets me when he does.
So I'm hearing that you're worried and upset when your boyfriend yells and calls you names?
Yeah, and when you were talking in class, you said this could possibly be like verbal abuse.
Well, how do you feel when this happens?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't really feel like it's abuse. I mean, that sounds so heavy. I don't know, I mean, it makes me sad and mad and just don't know what to do, I guess.
So this sounds like a pretty confusing situation for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, well what has your boyfriend said when you've talked to him about the yelling?
Well, no, I guess I haven't really talked to him about it. Usually I just sit there and take it while he yells at me, and then usually it gets done and I leave. And then we just act like nothing ever happened.
It sounds as if you just try to forget that these outbursts ever take place.
Well, yes, I mean, I don't want to make him angry again, you know.
Well, you say you don't want to make him angry. It sounds as if you feel responsible for his anger. Is that accurate?
Well, no. Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's okay not to know.
I mean, it seems like something has to provoke him, right? I mean, I guess that something just always happens to be me.
Have you ever seen him get angry anywhere else or with other people?
No, not usually. I mean, with his friends, he's usually like joking around and laughing, but then with me, it just happens to be unpredictable.
Okay. Well, do you feel like you were in any physical danger with him?
No, I mean, it's nothing like that.
Okay. I just want to make sure you feel like you're safe.
Yeah, I mean, I could never see him hurting me, but I appreciate that.
Good. Well, what would you like to see happen from here?
Well, I don't know, I just don't want him to yell at me anymore.
Okay, I want to be sure that I've heard and understood everything that you told me. You love your boyfriend, but you feel uncomfortable and hurt when he yells at you and calls you names.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. It sounds as if this even hurts you, and you want to do something about it.
Yeah,
Well, I also hear that you're confused about where to go from here and how to handle the situation.
that's pretty much it.
Okay. Am I leaving anything out that you feel is important?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Morgan, while you're here, would you like to discuss some possible ways to deal with this situation?
Sure, that'd be helpful.
All right. Well, good.
All right, tell me the reaction there.
I thought he summarized it all very nicely at the end, and he put his phone on silent. I thought that was very respectful.
Okay. Like they turned his phone off to avoid this button. Close the door, yeah.
He kept asking her questions too. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And he was like, how do you feel about that? And like kind of like tried to make it seem like he could get to a solution.
Okay.
Like he also like said something to the effect of like I'm basically asking you this stuff because like I want to make sure you're okay and you're safe, feel
Right.
comfortable.
He asked a great question, is like, do you feel like you're in any danger? And especially if you're working with someone who might be in a scenario where they could be harmed, that's a very important question to ask. Some things that we didn't talk about as much, and I want to make sure I point out, is the difference between an open-ended question and a closed-ended question. What's an open-ended question? Yeah.
Like you can open it to like everybody can answer and they can like ask more, but closed-ended is like kind of like yes or no and then it ends.
Okay, so yes or no is a closed-ended question. Any other definitions? I like to also think of it as a closed-ended question as something that has a definitive answer. You know, what's the temperature outside? Yes. Nope, that's not the way you answer that. You would say it's like 54 degrees. End of scenario. Sometimes, however, when you are working with someone, you need to ask a closed-ended question to gauge the conversation. So, for example, what made you decide to major in broadcast journalism?
That's a good question because I'm not majoring in broadcast journalism.
See? Had I asked, what's your major, which is a closed-ended question that has a definitive answer, had I asked that, I could say, what made you do OT?
Yes.
All right. What made you decide occupational therapy as a major? Open-ended question. Sometimes you need to ask closed-ended questions to determine whether or not how you sort of continue the conversation. So keep that in mind. It can't just all be open-ended questions, or else you're going to be talking about broadcast journalism, which you might not have any desire for. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to be a broadcast journalist about occupational therapy. Dr. Gupta, I don't know. So that is how we wrap up Module 3. Woo! We're almost there.
I'm so tired of midterms.
So tired of midterms.